going to give you some amazing financial insight tonight. Yep, we're going to be talking about finances. So you probably know somebody that you could share this with that says, are you kidding me? You're going to give us some wisdom about how to deal with finances, how to gain finances, what to do with your finances, how to think about your finances. So share this right now so that somebody else that you love can also be watching and getting this tremendous insight on finances. We want to pray for you. So, right there in the comments, if you need prayer, write that down. Say, man, I need this help. I need God's intervention. We are miracle believing people, and we believe the miracle power of God would love to work in your life. You just have to ask. And so we would love you to ask, and we'll come in agreement with you for the best in your life. Hey, there's a couple things I want to tell you also. I want to invite you to our Fierce Conference, which is May the 13th and the 14th. So it's a Friday night and Saturday. So wherever you're at, you could fly in, you could drive in, you could get your girlfriend, your auntie, your cousins, your Bible study group, and come and be a part at Christian Faith of our Fierce Conference. If you're a leader in ministry, paid or not paid, but you're a leader in your church, we have a Leaders' Day on that May 13th, a Friday. So it's free, but you need to register. So DM me, go to our website, and we will tell you all about it, and totally would love you to be involved with our Fierce, May 13th, May 14th. So get in there, get going. Okay, so actually, Theresa, I've asked you to be at our Fierce Women's Leaders' Day.
Yes.
Because you are one smart cookie.
Thank you.
Known you forever and ever, because you've just been the CFO here at Christian Faith forever. I mean, you've just been, you started off doing one thing and you continuously moved in the financial part, where you've been just such a woman of wisdom in the financial realm. So I asked you to be on today, even though I know it, this is not your thing.
I'm a behind the scenes person,
right,
more than in front of the camera, but I'll do it because I want to help people and because I love Wendy.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. But you'll also be at the Fierce Leaders' Day. So
yes.
Any of the women that are leading in the financial realm at your church ministry, whatever, you're going to
come
be
join
able to
us.
be
yes.
a personal time with Theresa and have interaction with that. And then also some interaction. I'm going to do some teaching and stuff like that too. But Theresa, you know money, and I love some of this. So you help me out by, there are certain keys of success that people should know about finances. And you have helped people come from extreme debt, just personally helping people to help them come to a healthier space. You've also kept us on track as a ministry. Just smart. We've done years and years of audits, and always get it.
Well, it's an unqualified clean opinion.
Clean opinion.
Every year, yeah.
Yeah, so we always have a clean opinion, and we believe in doing audits because we think that's really wise for churches, ministries, whatever, to do those, because it's honest. It's a smart way to live. So we have always had audits, and you've always been the lead of that, and we always come out
A+.
Yeah. Double thumbs up, which is praise the Lord. So just start off with, okay, what are some areas that you would say, number one, you need to know this about finances?
Okay, about personal finances is what we're going to concentrate on.
Yeah.
So number one is honor God with your finances. And that means tithing. God's very specific about what we need to do. A tithe is 10% of your income, and offerings are over and above that. And it's amazing, depending on where you're at in life, sometimes the more you make, the harder that 10% is because it's bigger. But wherever you are, start with that 10%, because 90% that's left after the tithe goes so much further than 100% on your own. And it's just miraculous how that happens.
So talk to me when you say that, because some people go, well, what? Like, wait, I'm already in huge debt. And you've helped people through all these years, because you've been here at Christian Faith for what? How many
I've worked here 34 years.
34 years.
Yeah.
So you've been in it, but you've been with people talking personally, been in financial classes. But I know you've talked with people, they come in with great debt, and you're like, start with tithing?
I know, it's counterintuitive, but it's the way It's the key. That's the number one key. I really believe that. And it's not, I'm not saying that because the church needs your money. The church can use your money. We got to pay electric bills and all that. But that's not why I'm so passionate about people tithing. I'm passionate about people tithing because of what it does for them and their finances. That obedience is the number one key to get in the door to prosperity.
Right. That is amazing though too, because I mean, it is amazing how many Christians don't tithe. And I think some of it, and they love to use it, oh, the churches want your money, and I'm like, well, sure. I mean, that's not that hard to go, well, sure they do, because they need to pay the bills, but they can do without your tithe because the church has done without a huge percentage of Christians tithe.
Statistically, I think they say 20% of Christians tithe.
That's 20% do tithe. And the churches are still surviving.
Yeah.
So they're not going to not survive with or without your tithe, but it's about your heart, isn't it?
Right. And the motive is important too. You can't just, it's one of those kind of chicken before the egg kind of things. Your motive has to be right. Your motive needs to be obedience, not giving to get.
Yeah.
But God promises that when we give, we will receive too.
Right.
So
it's a very unique thing, isn't it? I am so grateful. I was raised in church, but I am grateful that when I got saved at 17, I was in this great, wild, wonderful church, and the youth pastor, I was 17, he said, you should be tithing. Well, I didn't even know what the word meant. I'd been raised in church. I'd been going to church and then I was in a different church where I got saved. But I was like, tithe, what does that even mean? And when he said, you should be giving 10%, I am so glad within the first month of me getting saved, that youth pastor said to me, tithe, and I just obeyed quickly. Didn't think about it. I'm glad that I didn't think about it. I just did it so that I have lived that principle my whole saved life.
I did the same thing. The second week I got saved, the first time I came to Christian Faith Center, and I think it was within the second week, my sister who brought me to church says, you need to start tithing now.
Yeah.
and I did.
And you just did it. It's amazing that we did it and how it has worked for us. Okay,
Yeah.
but let's continue on. So some other financial smart stuff, because I love that you personally gave me some smart stuff to know myself. This is really good. What's it?
So the next thing you have to do is evaluate where you're at now. So figure out what you're spending your money on now. Some people like to track every penny that they spend, but kind of, I mean, it depends on whether you're what they call a nerd or a free spirit on how much you're going to do this. But figure out if you have debt, how much debt you have. If you have savings, how much savings you have. And figure out where all of your money monthly is going. So just write it all down as best you can, where your money's going now. And that's a place to start. Then you look at that and you say, okay, where I'm spending my money now, does that get me where I want to go in my goals financially? Most people are going to find out when they track it all that you're wasting a lot of money. And it's just easy to do when you're not really and well, I'll get into the next point, but if you need a plan where you can tell every dollar where to go. And that doesn't mean spend every dollar. That means make a plan for every dollar that you have coming in.
Right.
And that's the next step, is creating a budget. And if you're married, get your spouse involved. Generally, there's one spouse that kind of likes that thing and one doesn't, and one will say, oh, you just do it. But you need both spouses involved and being in agreement on those decisions. And there's a power in that agreement as well.
Right. So the thing is, I have heard also that there are people that can download even apps that help them count their money, in a sense of they help them know how
to track their budget.
To track their budget, right?
Yes.
So there's some
There's lots of good ones.
Right.
I know Dave Ramsey has a good one called Every Dollar, but there's lots of good ones.
Yeah. So you can just, you can download something, then you can put it in there, and it would help you see what old school we had to write down all the time. But there are some good apps, so you can just look those up, and a lot of them, are they free?
Most of them are free, or they might cost just a little bit. Yeah. Or if you're an Excel person, I'm an Excel person. I do mine on Excel. But whatever works, you can still do it on paper. Whatever works. Make it as simple as possible, though, so that it's easy to track.
Good.
If you make it too detailed, then
Well, if you haven't done this before, don't make it too detailed. For a detailed person, you've probably already done this, so then we're not telling you something new, because it's us that are the non-detailed. See, that you're telling my personality. You get it. For me, I'm like, okay, I could get an app then I could do that successfully. I could type in the stuff that I have been spending,
Yeah.
and then I could look at it
And
that
usually
way.
an app will have a way for you to put the budget in, and then as you spend it, track it against that and let you know how much is left on each budget line. and
Okay,
all
so
that.
how do you do a budget?
Okay,
It
so
says make a budget.
Okay, so make a budget. First thing you want, I believe the first item on your list should always be tithing and giving. Your second item should be paying yourself. There's a little book. It's an old book, but it's such a good book, The Richest Man in Babylon.
I love that book, The
And-
Richest Man in Babylon. I read that in my 20s.
Me
It is
too.
a brilliant book, yeah.
Yeah, and the principle in that, it starts with the man who's a slave and he works himself out of being a slave into the richest man in Babylon. And his principle that he started with was pay yourself first. And that means, after tithing, then pay yourself, put some money in savings.
And people they've done studies on us in savings. We are the worst. We spend all of our money and we don't put any into any savings at all. And I'm just like, I love The Richest Man in Babylon, because I love that concept of paying yourself, like on purpose. And I know that people again will say, yeah, but I can't afford it. But it didn't say how much you pay yourself. But it's learning a principle. So when I first started this, paying myself way back then, I mean, I would have paid myself what? $50, $100 maybe?
$10 a week if you're starting there.
Well, I wasn't thinking a week. You said a week. I wasn't thinking a week. I meant that I was thinking $50 a month.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I way back there.
Yeah.
But it's funny, when I learned it, I started because I looked and I said, okay, what can I pay myself? And I faithfully started to pay myself. Well, when it becomes a habit. So if you create a habit, then you actually look at it, and if you've made your budget and you start doing the other, paying off your debt, when you've made your budget and debt starts going, all of a sudden you re-look at it again, and it's easier to pay yourself more because you've already gotten into a habit. So you've learned a principle. Okay,
Right.
and continue
Okay, so
on.
when you're making the budget, then your next thing's going to be like your housing, your utilities, your groceries, school tuition if you're paying tuition, incidentals, car insurance, all those kind of things. So you know what your monthly expenses are. And it usually takes a good 3 months to fine-tune a budget, but keep working it and tracking
Ooh,
it.
say that. Did you hear that? For some of you that want to do this in 1 second, it could take you literally 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to kind of figure this out. Okay, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you have to figure out what's going on in your financial life.
And
okay?
then even after you've figured it out, you're constantly tweaking it every month.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Okay.
new things that come up.
So you make a budget. Now, in making a budget, can I just ask this question, like, what if you look at your budget and you realize, oh my gosh, like, how do you fix some of that
It doesn't
stuff?
work. Sometimes there's more month left over than the money.
Yes.
And okay, so if you do that, then you've really got to look at what can I cut back. And sometimes I call that, I think Dave Ramsey first called it a beans and rice budget. It's a bare bones budget. You need to make some changes if you're going into debt every month because your expenses exceed your income. That's a big problem. So make a plan, get together. You can, we'll talk about debt reduction a little bit, but you might need to sell some things. You might need to get rid of some debt immediately. But if you're in crises like that where your budget doesn't work, you've got to reevaluate and just make whatever cuts you can, whatever sacrifices you can. Make short-term sacrifice for long-term gain.
Yeah, short-term. And we in America we want everything. I want to go
Now.
out. The other day I was sitting at lunch, me and Casey were sitting at lunch, and I saw a family come in and had a whole bunch of kids, which is great, they're all sitting, but it was a lunch, and it was kind of a place that I thought, this is not like a birthday lunch or a special lunch. There's a lot of young kids, and they're buying them all meals, and they're buying a meal. And I know that this went through my mind. I thought, now, is that the best,
Is that the best use of their money?
Is that the best usage of your money right now? Like, you're spending right now how much? Because you were at a medium restaurant. It wasn't expensive, but it wasn't a cheap one either. So it was kind of that medium cost where everything that you're getting is just kind of over, like a little bit like, and you're not splitting meals or anything like that, which Casey and I, a lot of times, we split meals a lot because we can and we want to because we don't want all the food, because it's so much sometimes. But I thought, now, I wonder how many of us in America, this has become normal, but it is killing our income. It's killing our budgets because we want those excesses, but they're not the smartest usage of our finances for the long term.
Right.
Yeah. So you kind of have to make some hard choices.
Yeah, you do.
You kind of have to say, nope, you know, I'm not going to do those things. Certain things.
Yeah, might have to cut your coffee budget.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so you get a budget.
She just said cut your coffee budget.
That's I said might.
Might. Okay. Being as that I like my own personal coffee the way I make it at home, that's not ever been my issue because I don't like other people's. I like mine. Isn't that funny?
That's nice.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so work on your budget. If you're married, work on it with your spouse. And then next, another thing, can I talk about it? But if your budget did work, you know, occasionally people are in that spot.
That's good.
But they're just wasting a lot of money. When you get a budget that works, most people say they feel like they have more money. Which it's crazy, but it really does feel like you have more money because you plan for some spending money. You might plan for some entertainment money. You might plan for some, you know, if you like vacations or if you like to buy an extra pair of shoes or something like that that you may, you know, some clothing is needs and some is wants.
Yeah, right.
So, but I always say if you don't have to, if you're not in crises, if you don't have to be bare bones budget, build a budget that has a little bit of room for things like we just talked about. And that way you have a budget that's more sustainable long term.
Right.
It's like going on a crash diet. If you make a diet that is just, you know, 500 calories or whatever, you're not going to be able to sustain that for a long time.
Right.
But if you make a budget that's comfortable enough and is meeting your goals, then I think you're going to sustain that longer.
Well, personally, I always like to have a sustainable budget that you know what you're spending, you know how much you have, so that you have a budget, but your budget is to here. So you know you've got this cushion right here to work with. I love the cushion where the generosity can come in, where, because personally I tithe 10%, but I also put away a certain percentage of we personally have chosen to save, to have that generosity also have a 10% give. So we have 10% of tithe, but we also do a 10% of give. I love that part of our budget. We put it in our budget. We built to live that way in our life, but I love to be able to have that budget. So when there's a need, I'm not stuck where I really like to help out, but I haven't done anything. And many times my save budget, I'll save it to the next month or to the next month.
Oh, that's great.
And then I have a chunk that I can go, because there are different needs that come up. I want to be able to give. I love Samaritan Purse with Franklin. I have a Give to Mercy Ministries that Nancy Alcorn has. She helps young women in all kinds of needs. I want to be able to give to those kind of things. I give to Wounded Warrior because my son's in the military and I want to be able to have generosity in giving in these kind of ways. I love to give to Open Doors because they're helping the persecuted church. I want to be able to personally give to areas like that. So there's that little cushion that we are making.
Idea.
Oh my gosh, Theresa, you are full of wisdom, and we're so close to out of time. I'm like, okay, I believe that you've gotten some really good insight and wisdom. I'm going to have Theresa back. We'll have Theresa back, and we'll continue on in our financial understanding in the next couple weeks. I'm making her come back. I'm going to make her talk about finances. So remember at the very beginning, I talked about y'all coming to our Fierce Conference, May 13th and 14th. We want you to come. You can actually meet Theresa there. She will be there. If you're in the leadership role, make sure you check in and register to come in the daytime on Friday. But we have full on Friday night and Saturday. It's free, but we'd love for you to make a plan. Get your girlfriends, drive in, fly in, be a part of a very powerful spiritual event we're having right here at Christian Faith. We're believing for the best for you in your life. We're believing for God to touch you, help you, and strengthen you. Thank you for your generosity that so many of you have given to make this possible and make this work also. Thank you so much. Calling you strong, calling you courageous, calling you winning in Jesus.